We got a couple left to go here. Let's see if it can turn around. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 11. I'm bad at remembering episodes. Yes, 11 of Revolutionary Girl Utena, and I figured out what we're doing here because I found out what I'm talking about here. By the way, I should probably start with that. I've been talking about in previous episodes how I didn't know how much extra time to give this to really win me over. I've been talking about how I really haven't been like. Been a lot of issues I've had with this, from certain things that have just like given me massive ick to massive tone issues and various things like that. And there's just, I feel like a lack of focus with this series as well. And I've been talking about like how I don't know how long to give it until, because I wanted to give it a really fair shake. And I wanted to give it just a perfectly fair chance to win me over, to prove that I dropped it at the wrong time or whatever. And unfortunately, so far, it really hasn't been like winning me over any. It hasn't really been succeeding in changing my mind. I mean, it's like there's certain aspects of it that I'm, I guess, more okay with nowadays, but still not like hugely great on. And there's a lot of things that I still have so much issue with. And so I've been thinking of like how long should I give it to have it a fair shake? And I found out that this series, while it doesn't have seasons, is split into 3 separate arcs. And the first arc ends with episode 12. It is the end of the student council arc, and after that begins the like Red Rose or something like that arc. I don't know exactly what it's called offhand. But the first arc ends with episode 12, which means we have this episode and next episode. Which actually is leading us quite into the holidays perfectly, because, as you know, next week is going to be our last week before the holiday break. So that actually works out too, just in general. It's a good, like, time limit thing. And so I've decided that works out perfectly. This was actually brought to my attention because Venom, I think it was. I think you said something in the comments about like, oh, you thought like season 1 ended there, and I looked it up and it's like, oh, it's not actually seasons, it's arcs. And the first arc ends at episode 12, and it's like, okay. I think that's a good placement. So thank you, Venom, for, I guess, making me look that up. Yeah. So this I think is going to work. It has now 2 episodes to make me want to continue watching. And some people would say like, oh, but then you don't know what the next arc's going to be like and everything. It could be very different in terms of tone and stuff. It's like, yeah, but the end of an arc also has to impress. The end of an arc, like when you're either beginning or ending a series, or even an arc of a series, the goal is you have to hook viewers in. When an arc is ending, you have to make your viewers want to continue watching, or in case of a manga, reading. So you have to make the arc end in a very satisfying, good way. Which, to me, implies that it's probably going to... We're probably going to have something with Saionji, I would wager. Probably one more duel. As for after that, I don't know. And again, the fact that it's called like Student Council Arc or something really is interesting. Because, yeah, the Student Council have definitely been like the big deal for this arc, for sure. But I wonder how that's going to close. Like, what are we going to do to end that? I'm curious. I'm willing to give it this shot, though. I'm willing to check to see if it can impress me. Because here's the thing. I understand, I get why people love this series, and I understand its impact and everything. But I also have, like, personal, like, likes and dislikes when it comes to shows. There are just some things that just bother me to a level that I can't get over, even if it's not as big of a deal to other people. And some people can even just ignore the bad aspects to certain anime and stuff and watch for the good. And I can for certain shows, because, like, example, One Piece. One Piece has some very problematic shit in it. Like, the way that Oda portrayed queer characters at first, like, most notably with the Okama, is not good. He got better at it. He got a lot better at it. And I think that might have been from feedback. But it's like there was some issues with that for sure. And then Sanji, just in general, he has a lot of very bad moments in the series. But the thing is, most of the series isn't like that. Like, the vast majority of the series isn't like that. So I can tend to ignore that stuff when it pops up, or just, like, point out how cringe and terrible it is. But I can move on because I know most of what I'm going to watch is going to be fine. So I can live with that. But, like, for a series like this, it's like, it seems to be too consistent that my issues are popping up. That's my only worry here. And mind you, that might just be the early parts of this series. That's very possible. Or it could just be how this series continues to be. Because I believe I was told in a previous episode, someone commented on it saying, like, the tone shifts are a part of the series. The episodes that are just really goofy and weird and everything, it's like that is just a part of the series. So if that's the case and it really doesn't stop, like, in the next arcs, it's like, that's not really hopeful, I guess. But nonetheless, like I said, I wanted to give this a fair shake, and going to episode 12 I think is good, because we did the first 7 episodes, like a couple years back, and then so now we're going from 8 to 12. I think that's fair. That's almost half and half. So I think that this will be a good proving point. 2 episodes to try and win me back over. We'll see how it goes. Let's get into this one and see if it can start that process. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. We have Baldur's Gate 3 every single day, Horizon Forbidden West on Mondays and Fridays, Tuesdays and Thursdays is Life is Strange, Wednesdays and Sundays is Red Dead Redemption 2, and on Saturdays we have Nier Automata. A lot of great gaming content every day. Don't forget to click the link in the description below to follow it to today's reaction. I redirect everything just due to copyright reasons. And please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This episode adds to my confliction. I don't know if that's a word, but deal with it. It adds to my feelings of conflict with this series. Because this episode was pretty much entirely serious. Outside of maybe the little bit of comedy of Wakaba and Utena rolling down the hill and, Choo Choo being Choo Choo. It's like, even that though, like the tone, I talked about this before, that is a kind of comedy that still works with the more serious tone. That's not like what they were doing with Nanami and all. So, that's fine. That still fits. That still matches. But the thing is, this episode, even outside of just being, like, extremely serious and, especially ending on such a heavy, intense note, this episode was probably the best one yet. And you may be thinking, it's like, okay, if this is the best episode, if you really liked this episode, why does it lead you to be conflicted about this series even more? Because this isn't the consistent tone of the series. That's my issue. The shifting in tones, how it gets really silly and weird at times, how it like tackles things that just don't even make sense within this world, like the entire body swap bullshit that happened. That tone shift, when that occurs, is so jarring that it's almost hard to see it as the same show. That's how actively like unfitting it is to the rest of the serious content. Like, you compare an episode like this to the episode with the fucking boxing kangaroo, or the body swap and Nanami and all going to search for that curry and all. It's like, it doesn't feel like the same show. And I mean that in a bad way. It's actively distracting when a show does that. This episode was so fucking good that it's disquieting, because I'm really worried that it's gonna go back to the goofy weird shit at the start of the next arc. It's just gonna like go back to that stupid, like overly comedic gag manga tone, rather than, this. And I'm really conflicted about that, because it's like, if the entire series were this tone, I would love the shit out of this show. Because I've watched shows before, I've watched anime before that are like almost entirely serious, dark, intense in their tone. One such example I like to use for that is Naoki Urasawa's Monster. Monster is exceptionally serious and dark. It does have, I guess, a little bit of comedy, but it's so few and far between. And it works for the series. It's like within the realm of the show's writing. It never feels unnatural. But most of the series is so actively dark and serious. And that's what we want with Monster. That's the appeal of it. I feel like that kind of thing would work for this. Having this be super serious, super focused. Because that's another issue with this. It just doesn't keep focused long enough. Just having this darker tone would help this series exceptionally. And that's why I talked about, like, before, like, this could benefit from a remake that cuts it down. Like, maybe even by full half in terms of episode count. And keeps it focused on the story. I feel like it could allow this to really shine. But as it is, with the tone changes and, like, needless issues and stuff, it feels very distracting and very hard to, how do I put it? To excuse. Very hard to just stand by and, keep watching. Because, unfortunately, it seems almost like this level of quality is the exception, not the rule for this series. And that's not good. That's not what I want to see. If I'm watching a show, I want the higher quality stuff to be the constant. I don't want the higher quality stuff to be rare, few and far between. But to talk about the episode, Like, as angry and as irritated as I get about it, Toga's manipulation and gaslighting and everything is classic villain shit. And it's something that I honestly am glad that he's doing. Because it, one, showcases how evil he is for the viewers. And two, it's something you want, it's the kind of thing you want to see your villains do. You want to see them engage in villainous shit. And so seeing Toga do all of this is good because it's bad. You know what I mean? It's what I want to see. As much as it irritates me, and it does irritate me, it's what I want to see. And to see it actively work and cost Utena the duel, and to see Anthe fall to her forced place and everything, it leaves this episode off on a very dour note, a very sad, upsetting note. And it almost got me to tear up. I didn't quite get there, but it almost did. And I won't lie, because the emotion came through. The problem is, I feel like if the tone had been consistently more like this the entire time, I would have cried. But because of the changes in tone and the issues I've pointed out, that's what kept me from really connecting with the characters and really caring as much as I could have. But we have one more episode left in the arc, and I presume Utena's probably gonna challenge Toga to a rematch and win. She's going to probably realize that he's not her prince, that he's been manipulating and lying to her. And she's probably going to, have, of course, the added motivation of trying to win Anthe back. And maybe even someone's going to come to her aid. It's possible. But the point is, it's like, yeah, we got to end the arc off on a win for Utena. I would be surprised if they ended off on a loss for her. I would really be surprised at that. But I definitely think now that the last episode of this arc, episode 12, is going to very much have to be the determining factor for me. Because the last episode obviously has to not only conclude this arc and all the themes and ideas and setups that we had, but it also has to start to set up the next arc. It has to end in some way, even if it's like a little cliffhanger surprise at the end, even if it's some big shock or whatnot, or some like notable moment, or even just like little breadcrumbs here and there. They've got to do something to set up the next arc, and that's going to be like something I'm going to be looking for next week to determine what I'm going to do with this. Because as I see it right now, there's two options. Either it's not going to be enough and I'm going to drop it, or it's going to be enough to keep me invested enough to want to, at least for now, continue. But I'm going to want to take a break. After next episode, no matter what, I'm either going to drop it or take a break. It's going to be one or the two. Because, honestly, this series just, like, it exhausts me. And I think the end of the arc is a good place to take a break anyway. So I think that's how we're going to work it. Either I'm going to end up dropping it because it's just not enough and it doesn't really keep me invested enough to want to watch more. Or I'm going to continue, but not right now. I'm going to take a break, come back to it, refresh my mind a little, and come back into the new arc in a better place to do so with. We will see how that goes next week. I I don't really have anything more to say about the episode, though. It's like, I feel like through the reaction and through what I've already said here in the afterthoughts, I've given really all that I had to say here. So, yeah. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Obviously, no spoilers. But for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.